I thank you all for joining today. We greatly appreciate you taking the time to learn more about Lumens and Dante as well, in terms of learning more about how our products work cohesively in meeting room environments. So we'll go ahead and start. Thank you all for joining today. We greatly appreciate it. Please do know that there is a Q&A box at the bottom of your screen where you may place your questions. We will answer your questions with answers at the end of the presentation. This presentation is also being recorded, and we will share the file with you folks later this week. So thank you all for joining our webinar today. Chester, if you'd like to go to the next slide. Today we have with us Mr. Chester Lee, VP of Sales for the Lumens US region, Mr. Rick Puleo, Lumens Product Engineer, and Ms. Kathryn Taub, Product Marketing Manager with Audinate. I would now like to pass on the presentation to Mr. Chester Lee. Chester, thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Helen. And good afternoon to everyone. I appreciate all of you that have taken the time to join us this afternoon. I know it's the end of month, and I appreciate you giving us a few minutes of that week here. I want to re-thank Rick and Kathryn for joining us on this presentation here. And really, it's a sign of changes for what's going on with Lumens. So we'll talk about that, and this partnership with Dante for us is a very significant movement for our organization. So we'll go through agendas. I'll talk about it briefly, just the Dante ecosystem. Kathryn will discuss, the benefits of being part of that ecosystem. And then we'll review some of the Lumen solutions, some topologies, and how the network works, and really what benefits not just the end user, but the organizations that are doing the integration. So we'll talk about that over the next few slides, as well as future Lumens products that we've got going on the roadmap. And then at the very end, most importantly, we'll have Rick doing a live demo of the solution that we've got in place. So go ahead and begin here. So number one, the Dante, and Kathryn was still a little bit of your thunder, sorry. Take a little bit of it. The Dante ecosystem is very vast, and for us, Lumens, just really excited to be part of it, getting that connectivity with it, simplifying the workflow and of the conference room, or basically any solution requiring video and audio. We'll talk about some of our solutions in here that we'll have here. So we'll talk about the Lumens Dante AVH bridge, in addition, which is the OIP bridge. In addition to that, we'll talk about also the Lumens cameras, and then a couple products that we'll have coming down the roadmap towards the end of this year, which will be our Cam Connect, as well as a media processor. So from there, kind of starting that off here, Kathryn, I'm going to jump over to your slides here.
Perfect.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Here you go.
All right, thanks. Yeah, so Dante is pretty much the largest AV over IP technology ecosystem in the market globally. We have over 600 manufacturers developing with Dante and over 4,000 Dante-enabled products on the market. So with that, it has nearly 12 times the market adoption of those other solutions. While Dante AV, video specifically, products only represent about 100 of these devices, there are several hundred Dante-enabled audio products designed specifically for the conferencing space. So you're probably already speccing, installing, or even using daily a bunch of Dante audio products in that conferencing space. So when you're choosing Dante AV devices in your design, you're installing a device that works compatibly within the Dante ecosystem and will provide that consistent experience with your Dante audio devices. Next slide. Next slide. So for that reason, Lumens adopted Dante AVH, and let's talk a little bit more what that compatibility actually looks like and means. So Dante AV in general is designed to run side video alongside your Dante audio devices over that standard 1 gigabit network. The network management that you're already using for audio, so IGMP for multicast management and QoS for traffic priority, are going to work exactly the same for Dante AV as they do for your Dante audio, which means in a majority of your installs, you probably don't need to run separate VLANs for audio and video. And with Dante AV, there's good reason not to do that. And the reason for that is the audio channels on your Dante AV devices are regular old Dante audio channels and can be independently routed from the video channels to any Dante-enabled device. During the live demo, you'll get to see this in action. And this is exactly why the Lumens decoder makes such a great conferencing room addition, as you can bring audio from those ceiling microphones or DSPs, and then also video into a camera and out of into and out of a room PC. And then, of course, access to Dante control and management tools, which we'll talk about a little more in depth shortly. So next slide. So as you'll see, we're kind of talking about Dante AV-H mostly today, but we do make a couple different flavors of Dante AV, and there's sort of a reason for that. Unlike audio, where we can slam a whole bunch of channels uncompressed down a 1 gigabit link, that's not really the case with video. And we wanted to keep our solutions to 1 gigabit for now, as that's still commonly what's found on all sort of enterprise networks, especially if we're looking at access ports. So for video, it requires some compromises and requires compression, and those compression codecs have pluses and minuses usually to them. So with Dante AV-H, which is what we're talking about today, it's a super low bandwidth codec used, so 10 to 50 megabits per second max for a video stream, and it works really well when we're talking about integrating video onto those sort of converged corporate networks. Of course, with this, we are getting some compromise. While super high quality, Dante AV-H uses the H.264, H.265 codec. It does have the potential to introduce like visual artifacts and has a slightly higher latency than the other solutions at a few frames versus the subframe latency of other Dante AV solutions. But when we're talking about video conferencing or doing things like lecture capture or sending AV to overflow spaces within our buildings, these negatives aren't really a problem. And with the lower cost of encoders and decoders for this solution, it makes total sense to use where it's the right solution. Additionally, when it comes to Dante Studio software, if we want to run video directly into our computer without hardware, we can bring in those 4 channels of Dante AV-H, so multiple channels into a software, versus the other solutions where you're kind of limited to 1 or none. The other sort of options we have are Dante AV Ultra, which is the sort of premier top-of-line video solution that we make. It has visually lossless 4K 60, 444 encoding. It works really great for sending those super high-quality videos and exceptionally well for sending small text content like spreadsheets. So if you need to share really data-heavy content to screens within a classroom or conference room, it could be a great choice. It also has subframe latency the, so if you're doing IMAG, it might be a better choice than AV-H for some situations. But of course, that comes at a cost, right? So the cost is higher bandwidth and in some cases higher costs. So you're looking at hundreds of megabits per second rather than just a couple tens. Additionally, Dante AV Ultra has SDI and sync support that the other options don't quite have, making it more suited for production-based AV distribution workflows. And just to kind of talk about Dante AV Ultra and Dante AV-H together, these are the 2 Dante AV options that we really can continue to develop new features for, and we certainly are throughout this upcoming year. I'm kind of excited about what's coming to both. But I'll finish up just with what AVA is. So Dante AVA has a similarly balanced video codec to AV Ultra in that it's high quality, similar quality, low latency, but it's also very high bandwidth. It's really great for sort of one-to-many video distribution. The only products you'll really see are HDMI-based video encoder and decoders in various formats. So whether that's a box or wall plate or whatever, that's kind of what you got. It does have some drawbacks in that solution, we can only ever support 1 video channel per chipset, where Dante AV-H and Dante AV Ultra, we actually can expand that to multiple video channels, as well as expanding the quantity of audio channels available that manufacturers can produce devices with. Dante AV-H and Dante AV Ultra with more than just 2x2 audio channels. Yeah, next slide. So let's talk about the control and management. Hopefully, most of the audience is already familiar with Dante controller, but just to make it clear, your Dante AV devices, as you'll see later, auto-discover, they show up in controller right alongside of your audio devices. This gives you a really great overview of your complete AV system. So you're able to see and route everything audio, everything video in the same space. You don't have to like go into an individual device and choose where to send that signal to. It's just all right there in Dante controller. It also has all of the other functionality you expect from Dante controller, like audio, like presets or custom naming, that you can do with video devices as well. Video EDID and other config is not quite in controller yet for AVH specifically, but we are working on that. So you'll be able to also then set things like your resolution and frame rate from Dante controller. For management, we have two options. This is kind of beyond just your typical Dante use case. But for management, we get either Dante Domain Manager, which can be hosted on site as a local server, as a VM, or even in private cloud, or Dante Director, which is a software as a service-based product, which we host in the cloud, so you don't need to worry about any sort of running of a server. The benefits of both, though, are largely the same. They allow you to sort devices into logical groups, whether that be individual client sites with Dante Director. So if you're managing multiple sites, Dante Director is a great option. Or into domains where we can separate out floors, buildings, use cases with Dante Domain Manager. We're also able to assign user access control to these groups, allowing the people you want to access devices access and blocking everyone out. So when you open up Dante Controller, if the devices are enrolled in Director or Dante Domain Manager, nothing shows up until you log in with your user credentials. We also have dashboards that let you see if there are any errors with devices at a glance, so you can kind of fix things before they become problems. Complete audit log lets you know when changes were made, who made them, if there were any failures that occurred. And also we're building out additional telemetry data and network data. So we've started with latency graphs in Dante Director that can really help you kind of troubleshoot any sort of network issues as we run Dante on like converged networks or like even less standard types of networks like software defined and that sort of thing. We need maybe a little more troubleshooting to see what's going on than sort of your standard AV installation. The ability to monitor and route audio across multiple subnets allows us to break up our systems and sort of use our Dante devices more like you would other IT equipment. And then finally, access to the Dante API allows for managed service providers and integrators to sort of create single pane of glass monitoring solutions across multiple platforms, not just Dante, but everything. Or ticketing system automation. And most importantly, for video, it allows you to route devices outside of Dante controller. So you can create custom solutions, or we have options to integrate into sort of common control solutions like Crestron, Extron, QSys, that sort of thing. And we have some really cool pipeline additions to the API, which, could you imagine deploying all of your video devices in a building and then just being able to set the EDID via API. So you don't even need to go individually to devices in Dante controller, but you could actually set them all at once throughout your entire network. So lots of really great stuff for this sort of conferencing install space with the managed Dante options. Next slide. And then finally, I want to talk about security, as it's quite important when we're talking about converged networks. So as AV and IT networks are converging, we're kind of becoming more reliant on microservices or hosted management, and IT teams really want to know what devices are connecting to their network, what data is stored on the network, who has access. And so AV devices need to do that. So we need to be able to proactively patch and update against those security vulnerabilities, protect corporate, employee, and customer data. There's also like some risk assessments that need to happen a lot of times, and we want to make being able to complete those easier. So we already saw with Dante Director or Dante Domain Manager, we're meeting some of those needs with encrypted control messages, centralized user authentication, support for network segmentation with being able to break up things into multiple subnets, and event logging. But we've actually gone even further than that with device level security, including secure boot in any of the hardware-based Dante solutions. Secure firmware updates we're working on, patching of OS vulnerabilities. We're able to roll those out to multiple manufacturers at once because they're all using just Dante. And now this year at ISE, we're beginning to roll out interoperable media encryption. So we're starting with your audio flows between Dante devices. The GA on that is coming about next month. And that is secured with strong AES 256 encryption, where the keys get managed and rotated by director at first. We'll add that to DDM as Dante Domain Manager as well. So that way you're not having to log into individual devices to rotate those keys. Everything kind of just happens automatically to secure your Dante network. So big into security as well. And that's it for me.
Thanks a lot, Kathryn. I'm really excited, especially about having the control and the security. I think those are just two really critical pieces of that ecosystem that's really important for us. So for Lumens, let's talk about what is being launched or has been launched, and that was launched out back in Q4 2024. So we launched out the Dante AVH decoder, and we have now launched out the OIP N40 encoder. I apologize, I messed that up there. So the AV over IP Dante AVH decoder and the encoder as well. The encoder is a Dante ready solution. So just for some clarity, if you've already owned the existing model on there, a firmware update is all that you need to do. And when you do that firmware update on there, you can go ahead and get the license that you need to make yourself make it an AVH solution on there. So first off, let's go ahead and talk about the N60D. So this is a Dante AVTH, excuse me, Dante AVH and Dante Audio Bridge. It's a 4K 60. The beauty of this is that it allows you to take the Dante audio and the Dante video to USB or HDMI with what you're doing on there. And it's very a simplified device where the power is coming from either by IP or via USB. And then the companion that we have to go with that as well is the encoder, the OIP N40E. As noted before, it's a Dante ready solution. Updated firmware will allow you to go ahead and purchase a license directly on there. So once again, it's simple. It's a bridge on there, but in addition, that has USB-C Thunderbolt 4 and HDMI Dante AVH. And what we'll show in the diagram, and we'll talk about the second, but we'll show the diagram. Really, what is it really simplifies the number of devices that you need to have in your conference room, and we'll go through that in just one moment here. So we'll talk about the converter solution. So let's take a look at the standard conference room solution on here, and we'll see. Hopefully, you guys will see my mouse on here as well, where you've got the camera. And then from there, you may need an IP to HDMI converter, and then a converter from HDMI to USB to get to your laptop. In addition to that, you may have additional Dante microphones, Dante speakers, and then from there, those things would need to go via some type of converter going from that IP to USB. But when you include the Lumen solution to this piece on here, you really minimize the number of devices that are needed. And one thing I'm going to repeat over and over again is that you're going to minimize your points of failure in a solution, trying to diagnose if there's something that goes on. So from there, you've got the cameras, you got the Dante microphones, you got the Dante speakers, all connected via IB to, and we recommend a NEC your switch to go with that, and that will connect directly to the Lumens decoder, right, via one IP Ethernet connectivity, and then a USB to your laptop. So that's the solution that we have here. I'm going to go back really quick here. So by using the Lumen solution, you're going to eliminate multiple pieces to the connection that could have some issues or you're trying to troubleshoot in the future. By using that Lumen solution, it eliminates a lot of the extra equipment that's not needed. So you can provide your customer with a better solution, one, two, or the end user can provide a lower cost solution that works, that's more functional. So Rick, I'm going to let you do the diagram here. So we've got an IP to USB version of this in here.
So I think the advantage that we're seeing here is that we're being able to take advantage of the Dante environment, the amazing audio that we can get out of a number of Dante-enabled solutions, and be able to bring them into your meeting solution with a single USB cable. So in addition to ceiling mics, tabletop mics, we can also bring in Dante video from Dante-enabled cameras, as well as RTSP cameras as well. So this is an awesome and very clean solution that you can create a simple meeting room such as this, or expand upon that, which we'll delve into a little bit later. So there we've got our Dante microphone in, and at the same time, we're taking the audio out, going out to the Dante-enabled speakers.
Inside the buildings, me working in a building, I've seen that as well.
Can you
Brent,
mute, Helen?
his perspective.
Helen, can you mute?
Ultimately, just
Thank you. Sorry about that, Rick.
All good. Let's keep going.
And we're live. Last piece for the HDMI out. Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, of course. In this particular case here, the decoder is outputting USB, and from there, the meeting solution then is connected to a standard monitor. So our decoder is managing all of our video and audio sources, and allowing your meeting solution to do its job with a single USB connection.
Excellent. Thanks, Rick. I'm going to say this multiple times, but going with our solution with the Dante partnership really makes things a lot easier to work with because of the given protocol for both video and for both video and audio. So it's easier to expand, changing your sources, and as well with the controller, very easy to manage on there. Another way we see another room for conference room solution is in a BYOM in a wireless solution. Similar to here, we're partnered with Barco, so we work with the ClickShare. In a similar environment, we had the HDMI conversion from the camera going to HDMI or HDMI to USB, and then a USB connection, to the Barco ClickShare, and then any of the audio, and then the speakers, the microphone, the speakers connecting via USB. So that's what you see in a traditional setup in a wireless connection to a Barco ClickShare. But by adding the Lumens Dante device on here, you have the decoder. This once again eliminates a lot of the extra components that aren't needed, and also streamlines your network and what we have here. So from here, as we know, cameras, the microphones, the speakers are all connected via IP. The IP connection goes to our Dante bridge, and then for us, we connect directly to the Barco ClickShare. And as you'll note here, it's a one USB cable versus multiple cable connection on there. So Rick, I'll just go over here real quick here. Similar situation here, Rick, go ahead.
And again, once again, we're connected. The OIP N60D is connected via Ethernet to your AV solution, your AV network, picking up your audio and video and outputting the audio back out to the speakers. All your audio and video is managed. Single USB connection to your ClickShare device.
I was a little slow on the movement. Sorry about that, Rick.
Yeah, and I talk fast.
Okay. So, with the benefits of Dante and working with a Barco ClickShare, you can still maintain your ClickShare solution. So we're not changing that out. But what we do is we can take care of a lot of the background work. And really, once again, it's making it easy to expand, changing your sources, and easy to manage with that solution. On the last piece here, let's talk about more common usage in a BYOM, in a regular wired conference room solution on there. So typically what you may run into in a room, you just plug in your USB-C, but you're using your computer's audio, you're using your computer's video, so you're not getting quite the quality output of what you have on here. So in this situation, we're going to go ahead and now partner with the encoder as well as the decoder. So we got both pieces now into this picture. In your standard setup here, you'll have what we talked about is the converters from IP to HDMI, HDMI to USB to your laptop. But in addition with that, you've got the laptop that has to go via HDMI to some type of wall display. And there are limitations to the capability of HDMI. So with that, you may have to add additional HDMI extenders to reach from your laptop to the display that's being used in the conference room solution. But with the Lumens encoder and decoder, we can go ahead and eliminate those issues on there. We have, in this situation, it's a little bit slightly different where we're using the encoder that's connecting here to the USB to the computer. So that way you have going back from the computer back out using the encoder. In addition, without the encoder, we'll go ahead and connect to the decoder. And the decoder will eliminate those issues that HDMI has restraint on for distance and based on certain distance requirements that it cannot hit. So by adding the IP address, and sorry, not the IP, but the IP connection on there, you can extend that connection much further and have an HDMI connection from our decoder directly to the television on there. So go to Rick here.
Yeah, again, now where this may initially get a little bit confusing as to what we're doing here, the OIP N40 encoder kind of serves a dual purpose. So while it is encoding via USB the outgoing audio from this meeting, it's also encoding the DisplayPort output from the laptop or CPU that's hosting the meeting. And that is going into the encoder and out to the network, where the decoder can decode the video and put it onto a display. And we're also bringing in video from the camera, audio from the microphone, and outputting audio from the meeting to your Dante speakers. So this is a really great solution that adds a lot of flexibility to a meeting room environment. A single USB-C Thunderbolt 4 cable into the OIP N40E is all that you need.
Thanks a lot, Rick. We got the rest of them there. I'm going to continue that theme, working with Dante and being that ecosystem. So many of their partners, so many of the partners that you guys will work with are with Dante. So by us joining, it just adds an additional line that makes it much, much simpler to work with on there. Rick, I want to go over real quick here. So for us, we've talked about introduce to you guys the Dante decoder on there. We also have the Dante Ready encoder, which you guys can go ahead and upgrade to full Dante on there. Sorry, Dante AVH. In addition to that, we will have a Dante AVH camera that's ready to launch, I believe, in late March, early April. In addition, with those two pieces, we're going to be adding the Cam Connect to that list for a Dante-enabled device between our Cam Connect and also our media processor. So those will be coming out later this year. Rick, I'm going to stop my screen sharing here, and I want to let you take over so you can do the live demo here. So bear with me while I get through this piece here. Okay, Rick, I have stopped sharing. I believe you have control.
I think what I was going to do was adjust. So in this particular meeting environment, I've got a very small space right here, but I have a single camera. And one of the beauties that I see that we're finding in most conference room solutions is they want to take their conference room and put it into a multi-purpose room. So instead of just one single camera, we can have multiple cameras and allow me to switch to another one in a different angle. So if there was more people in the room, or if I'm showing an interesting product, I can merely switch between the cameras at will. Now we have an extensive API that's built into all of our devices that will allow you to have various control surfaces, whether it's Crestron, Extron, even Stream Deck. We've actually utilized We actually have done some demos with Stream Deck, which makes things a little bit exciting. So what I do want to show is that I am currently using a Yamaha RMTT microphone. And I happen to be using our VSKB21N controller. And I think the only behind the scenes thing that I would like to mention is that in addition to Dante AVH video solutions, I can simultaneously have available to me in the various cameras RTSP video. So this is what you're looking at right now is a non-Dante AVH, but a standard RTSP transport stream. I do want to mention, a question just came in and I want to address this really quickly. The OIP N40E, it's about this size, and in comparison, here is my cell phone. Oops, not the credit card, it's my cell phone. It's a standard cell phone. So it's a relatively small size. And the question that just came in is that, can it be powered over USB-C to the laptop? Yes, it can. But my question to you is, why not go power over Ethernet? Your cameras can be powered PoE. Of course, your microphone, your speakers, all PoE. Include that in the PoE environment. The reason why I like to suggest that is because I don't know what other things that the laptop could be providing. So I would strongly suggest PoE. All right, a little behind the scenes. Let me share my screen. And I want to share screen 2. All right.
Hey, Rick, I'm sorry, the question came through is actually power. He meant to power can the OIP power the laptop? I don't know if I've.
No,
Okay.
no. Probably not the wireless to the decoder. Okay, I am sharing right now. We're looking at, can everybody see my screen? Chester, just confirm you're seeing the my Lumens web interface.
Yep, I am seeing that screen.
Yes, we are. Could you
Excellent.
increase the size?
So what we're looking at right now is the OIP N60D Dante AVH decoder.
Rick, can you make it a little bit larger? I'm not sure if it's
Yes.
possible.
Of course it is. I'm sharing the whole desktop because I'm going to be moving other devices over here. So can everybody see that? Okay. And I could zoom in a little bit more. Just bear with me a moment here. There we go. Okay, so what we're looking at is the OIP N60D web GUI. Now, this is where we can configure all the basics such as standard networking. I'm currently going DHCP, static IP, whatever is required. We can do a search or manually add sources. And I currently have added 3 sources here, my 2 cameras and an encoder. Now, this particular encoder is actually taking the output of my laptop that I'm working on right now. And just to show you, if you can look at my camera right now, I've switched to my camera to my second camera, and I'm actually feeding this display that I'm looking at right now. So if this was a normal conference room, I could have a large display behind me, and I'm presenting this particular screen. So I've selected that source. I could easily select any other source if I wanted to, and I could send that command from a number of different solutions. My audio, I'm taking my audio out. I'm picking up my audio from Dante, and it can come out either HDMI or a separate analog audio cable if you do not have Dante-enabled speakers. So the point that I'm showing here is that this is a very cool solution to be able to integrate it into your conference room. You do not need to access this web GUI on a daily basis. but it makes it easy if you want to change the configuration. Now, the encoder that I'm looking at right now is exactly the same thing, where I can select my sources as to what is going to be coming into my meeting. And right now, the camera that's selected is the VCTR40. And I can simply select a different camera and trigger it. And now you're seeing the second camera, which is right here. And I'm doing it manually right from the interface, which I think this gives us a lot of flexibility. Now, the other point that I wanted to mention is that I am coming in from that USB-C Thunderbolt cable. I'm selecting DisplayPort as my source, but I can also come in HDMI if I so chose. Last thing that I want to mention is that my output, if you guys can see my output here, and I'm actually going to zoom in a little bit so you can see this a little bit better. There we go. So I have selected my USB output, and I've chosen for the video, I've said follow Dante. Now, this is where I could bring in my Dante controller, and you can see that I'm currently routing a Yamaha RMTT microphone into my encoder, which is going into the Zoom meeting. Well, I'm going to switch it up just to show you that we mean business. And now I'm coming to you from a standard podcasting microphone. Now, the reason why I want to show that is, again, we are seeing conference rooms that are being used in multi-purpose solutions, whether they're conferencing, training. This allows you to reconfigure the room as needed with known working Dante controller methods, which is, in my opinion, is brilliant. Any questions?
I don't have questions. I'm not sure there's questions from the group there, but definitely I love the working with Dante and almost a single pane of glass management feature. You can, it depends how big your screen is. You can have so many devices connected to it. You may need a bigger screen to see it all at one time, but I think that's the brilliance of the Dante controller on there.
Thank you, Rick. Let's give folks a minute to ask a few questions and then we'll take a look.
Hey, Rick, just out of curiosity, how many Dante devices can we have on there?
I'm going to have Kathryn. Right now, our Dante enabled encoders and decoders can go up to 254 devices.
Yeah.
Can be connected to a Lumens encoder and decoder.
Yeah, so it's basically a limit of network and clocking. So for clocking, you're looking at per subnet, you typically only want to have something like 200 and some. But then when you take into consideration like Dante Domain Manager, where you can cross subnets with your devices, you can kind of move that number up quite a bit.
And apologies if you guys are seeing gray boxes.
I apologize. I didn't move it out. I forgot to move it out when I was presenting. So sorry about that.
So, and once again, I'd like to show that the first solution that I showed was essentially just bringing in IP sources into my meeting. That was the first solution, and I'm merely selecting the Lumens AV over IP N40E in this particular case as my speaker and my microphone and my camera. And that's how that is how I'm bringing in both audio and video and sending outgoing audio to my room speaker.
Okay, very good. So one of the questions that we have is, I don't know if you've just answered that, but what device is the master clock in this setup?
Good question. I'm currently using the Yamaha RMTT as the master clock. But again, you could set up your Dante network as best in your situation.
Yeah.
But I'm currently using an RMTT microphone as the master clock.
Very good.
Yeah, the devices will follow the master or the primary or leader clock, like a best algorithm if you don't specify a specific one to be the preferred. So they work just like your regular Dante devices there.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of this, is that it just fits nicely into your Dante environment.
Thank you, Rick. Next question. Are both the encoder and decoder now shipping?
They are shipping. Yes, they are.
Fantastic. Next question.
Okay, maximum length of the USB cable. And this is where I recently did a search on Amazon because one of the sales guys was asking for a USB-C Thunderbolt 4 cable. And you can get them down as low as $8 a cable, $5 a cable, all the way up to 50, 60, $80 a cable. And I know there's a number of lengths down there. I have to put this down. I'm gonna personally say this as being out there assisting people in integrating. Your mileage may vary. If you can get a quality USB cable at a length that you need and it meets your specs, I want to say test, and test again with your solution. I've had $20 cables last me, they break after a couple of hours. So that's kind of an open question.
So what he's
That's
mentioning
quality
length though. He's
I-
mentioning the length of the cables. What I'm seeing here. What's the maximum length of the
I-
US cable?
Yeah, there's you can get again you can get a 20-foot USB-C Thunderbolt cable. I know that there's various lengths out there, but as long as they guarantee the bandwidth, that the connections are good, you can go with what's spec on the cable, as long as it meets the throughput requirements.
Thank you, Rick. Next question is about pricing. We'll have you folks reach out to your local zone managers to discuss the pricing for the individual products that we've mentioned here today. Next question. Have you done setups with a Dante-enabled audio DSP as the audio I/O devices rather than direct to Dante mics and speakers?
Yeah, and if it's a Dante audio source that you can find on your Dante controller, you can route it in and out of our AV over IP devices. That's the beauty of it. Again, you got to make sure that your everything matches. But yeah, connecting to a DSP is awesome. Yes.
We'll give it a minute for any more questions before we finish today.
Well, we're waiting for any of the final questions coming in here. In regards to the solutions, I mean, if you guys are looking to test it out, please let your zone managers know or reach out to us directly and we'll get you assigned to the proper account manager in your region. And we're going to have you fill out a form for the demo to test it out. It's something that, it's once you use it, it is an amazing device that you have, but you got to, put it into use and see its capabilities on there.
I think the final word that I want to add is that think about flexibility in a room. Think about what else you could accomplish in the room than your standard video conferencing. Do you want to do trainings? Do you want to do interviews? Do you want to do panel discussions? All those are now capable and easy. It makes it easy to reconfigure a room as needed.
And
So
yes,
flexibility.
thank
Go
you,
ahead,
Rick.
sorry.
We will be sharing the recording after later this week. So thank you very much. I don't believe we have any more questions at this time. So thank you so much, Kathryn, Chester, and Rick. And for all you folks, please stay tuned for more webinars from Lumens coming up this year. Thank you all for joining us today. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Have a
Bye.
good day, everyone. Take care.